Okay. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the All Purpose Pod for an All Purpose Life, wherever you are and however you're hearing our show. Thank you again for making Mr. You a part of your morning, your day, and your week. We're your weekly mirror check before you change the world, baby. Bo and Herbert in the house, ready to rock and roll. NFL 1 week before Christmas. You ready to roll, man? What's going on, fellas? Good morning.
How's it going, man?
Good morning. Best way to start my morning is with you guys, man.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Ready to roll. Got that Joe in hand. I know. I see hers. I know Bo got his a little while ago. Boom.
You know, hey,
that's the fuel.
That's the fuel. If anybody's watching that owns a coffee brand, you could sponsor the show. You could have your logo right on our.
Yeah, we're drinking it every single Monday.
Yes.
And sometimes Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays. And
I 1000% support this idea.
Well, we were talking about it a little bit offline, man, but it's like, now it's like we were so pumped and amped for football. It's like now we got like 4 weeks left, like what, 3 weeks left. Like, wow, what happened? It's almost going already. We're talking about XFL and arena football and the USFL. Like that's our golden goose right there. That's what we're gonna rely on for football. It's like I don't know. We got some varying opinions about how that's gonna work. Man, it's like
I guess at least for me, we have one of the XFL teams here.
That's good.
So, I mean, at least there might be some excitement around Seattle. I missed the season last year, so I don't know. But I have seen a lot of gear, right? So that's encouraging.
That means for an hour, we're going to spend the whole hour, like play-by-play of your team's games every week, right? That's what we're going to do. So in the third quarter, they rushed for 2 yards. Wasn't a great play.
I mean, so that could be entertaining, though, because if you remember that show in the 80s, Football Follies, because that's really been kind of the lower tier. The lower tier football has kind of been that. So, I mean, there's been some good plays, but there's also stuff that you're just like, wow, did they really just do that? Like,
okay. I mean, I'm open to ideas. Trust me. I'm gonna miss as much as this product gets us mad. I'm gonna miss this product. I didn't realize how many homes and coaches were kind of ingrained in this whole football thing. People schedule stuff around this. They schedule events around it. They do stuff with their kids that all the kids, my kids who even don't even know what a football is. Dressed up in the gear, their team colors, around the big screen TV cheering. Little toddlers don't even know what's going on. I'm like, we get worked up and intense and mad about this thing. We take this stuff real serious. And then we go into this whole opposite polarized cycle of depression and sadness and boredom and trying to find ways to fill our Saturdays and Sundays, like beside a to-do list. Most of us husbands have to do that anyway, but
yeah,
it's a pretty sad cycle, man.
Are you just describing a Cowboys fan in the playoffs? What do you do?
Oh my God, no. Describing them in week 1, same thing. It's really no difference, but we can touch that.
I'm just trying to get stirred up this morning.
Oh yeah, well, that's okay. I'm ready for it.
What they say, Bo woke up and chose
I'm happy your team lost. That's what matters. Doesn't make any difference, man. But look what sports has done to us.
I hate Dallas. Bo woke up, so I hate Dallas.
We got people who are friends of friends. I guess you can say. It's not my friend, but a friend of a friend. They hear that, they will unleash on you.
Oh, no, I know.
Like talking about Beyonce or Taylor Swift or something. They go crazy.
It'll get you canceled from commentating in the playoffs. That where we're going.
With Raj checking in. So next Sunday, I will be at Raj's house, and Dallas is playing Miami, and Raj's wife, so my in-laws, they are Dallas fans, and Raj is a Miami fan. Yes, so It'll be a fun time.
Wait a minute. Wait.
You're live streaming this, yeah?
He doesn't know that we're live streaming.
Exactly.
That was my next question. I want to say, why are you not doing a show out there with that going on?
Right. It'll be fun.
That's entertaining all by itself.
So is there going to be like matches and stuff so Dallas fans can burn their jerseys or?
Oh wow!
Well, see, here's the thing. If the wife wins, she could say and talk whatever she wants.
Sure.
If the husband wins, you have to be very cordial and you guys played hard, tough game, we got lucky kind of thing.
Better luck next time. Yeah, I got you.
That doesn't sound equitable.
I know, but that's what marriage is.
Wow.
Let's take it a left turn early.
My wife went back to sleep. She ain't going to hear that part. Hopefully, she won't take that. That's not all we do here. Look what sports has done to us. Look at us. Shells of our former selves. But we got a couple of.
We used to be such nice guys.
Yeah. That was a long time ago. But
a long time ago.
We got a couple of poll questions out there for y'all guys. One, do you think NFL officiating is balanced? Right now, at current, 82.9% said no, which is what we all think here on this show. 17.1% said yes. I even got one comment that said it's basically fair because we see it too much. That's why we don't think it's not fair. I'm like, I don't understand that.
So do they mean
that means it's happening, right? Hello, are we all seeing dead people here? I mean, I don't want to say what's going on.
So do they think it's fair because they just make bad calls on both sides? Is that what they're? I mean,
no,
they could just
he's saying.
I think they're saying more scrutiny on it. So like you notice more all the bad calls, which makes it worse. Bad calls are bad calls.
I mean, we do get all 22 views of a bad call.
Right.
Yeah, I don't get that part. Maybe you guys can help me.
Well, I'll say this in a weak defense of that. The one thing that I don't like about some of the bad calls is when we super slow-mo it down and we go, oh yeah, that's a bad call. If that's the only way you can see it's a bad call, it's not a bad call. But the ones that we're seeing live and the ones that are going at regular speed, and when you're watching live and you go, I see that.
Yeah.
They don't catch it. That's a bad call. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bo.
No. I was just going to say, yeah, you're absolutely right. If you got to frame by frame it to be like, oh no, it should have been the other way. It's like, yeah, you're not going to see that in real time. A prime example of that was last night when the touchdown out of the back of the end zone,
Calvin Ridley,
was called incomplete, right? Yeah. Well, frame by frame, it looked like he gathered control just before he slid out of bounds, right? So you could have called it either way. It ended up being called incomplete on the field. They didn't feel like they had enough evidence to
overturn
it because you couldn't see the exact moment of control, right? Yeah. But I mean, when you frame by frame it, yeah, you could make a case for it. It's not, inconclusive, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you're watching this in real time, someone falling down. I don't fault him for upholding that call, right? Yeah. Like that seemed like a good call, even though you could make a case for it being a touchdown. Would have changed the complexion of the game.
Right. But and in defense of what you're saying too, like as a Calvin Ridley fan and somebody who has him on his fantasy team, in live action, I saw the bobble and I said, oh, he didn't get it. That was my first reaction. 100%. So like you're 100% right. I just don't think you can call that one a bad call. Because the frame by frame looks it, but then people go, oh my God, it's a terrible call. Is it really? I mean, they didn't have this cut.
Well, and you could have said it was a terrible call if they overturned it. Because you just be like, well, how do you know he had control? Because when he grabbed a hold of it and slid out, he still didn't have it to his body yet.
Right.
Like, it's not like he had the 3 points of contact or anything like that. Like, it was still kind of out here. So you don't really know. And then, of course, he rolls over his head. The ball still kind of moves even when he does that. Right. So it was a judgment call. I think they got that one right. But, but I mean, anybody that had him on the fantasy team or, Jaguar fans are like, bad call. And it's just like, no, like, I mean, that one kind of makes sense.
Right. You know how that works. Yeah. There was quite a few that came through just comments on Twitter and through the news. One of our friends on our Twitter page said, go back to the Chiefs' very first game of the season, and the tackle was consistently in the backfield every single time. and nobody ever called. So he mentioned, I don't know what tackle he was talking about. I don't know if he meant the left tackle Donovan Smith or the right tackle Jawan Taylor. I have no idea.
I feel like it was Taylor. I feel like I was watching that game and it was.
I thought it was Taylor too, but I wasn't totally sure. I didn't want to just say that randomly. But somebody was.
It was interesting because it happened all game, and usually like the announcers harped on it the whole game. So you're thinking like you go and tell an official, and usually you get that call later in the game. So that was a weird one.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying that's usually what I thought would happen. You know, if you would say something to him and you'd get that call later. So to me, that's more of like an in game kind of thing.
Yeah, and usually someone will go and say something to the ref. And will even before they throw the flag, they'll be like, "Hey, you need to get up on the line a little bit."
Right.
Yeah. Right. I'm not sure it got corrected, but it is what it is, right? And with the Chiefs, it's like the whole story.
The Eagles actually had the same issue. They had some tackles that were coming back, and then it's actually one of the things that prompted the offensive offsides is their offensive line has been cheating forward for the tush push thing, right? And so that's what really created the emphasis on throwing the offensive offsides flags this year, is to try and get them to stop cheating forward. It was actually kind of targeted at the Eagles. And now it just seems to get receivers because they forgot how to check with the refs for some reason. That. That's so weird to me because they teach you to do that in literally every level of football, right? And then you become a pro and you're just like, I know where this imaginary line is. No, you look at the ref, be like, hey, am I on your line? If I am, cool. If not, I will back up. Like,
yeah.
But
Tony can't bring blame on Philadelphia for that. Then is that what you're saying? He can or cannot blame them?
No. I guess he can blame the incomplete passes on him too, or
and the drops. Yes,
pick that he literally handed to a Raven.
All right, NFL players.
And you get a ball, and you get a ball, and everyone gets a ball.
No, that's too many balls being passed out. All right. We got NFL players chiming in as well. Michael Parsons is talking about he's getting held on 75% of his
he probably is though.
He probably is. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, everybody said they're being held. I mean, they probably are, but okay.
Yeah. Every pass rusher thinks they're being held, but we talked about this a week or two ago. If you started doing that, then it's just going to be the games are going to be terrible. Like, just realize that the playing field is level, that everyone's getting held, and that's what it is.
And I forget who the interview was.
It's hard to manage all of that.
Yeah.
I forget who
the robots.
Yes.
I forget who the interview was with. It was with Edelman. It was with Julian Edelman. He said he got called for holding because he had red gloves, so the refs could see it.
Yep.
Right. And then after that point, because Bill just lit him up, he's like, well, thanks, red gloves. Right. So he ever after that point, he wore whatever color gloves the opposing jersey was. So you couldn't see grabbing a hold of it. I was like, man, that's really smart.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say this. We're going to move on. He held a lot.
Yeah.
I believe it.
They all hold.
I don't mean like what you think is normal. No, he held a lot. Him and the fact Danny Woodhead too. Both of them.
Hey,
they held a lot. So
I mean,
no matter what kind of gloves you got on, but let's keep moving, man.
Hey, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right?
Yeah. Even we talked about the impact of gambling on officiating as well too. Dean Blandino had a report. I don't know when it came out. I think it was a couple of days ago. Saying he got approached way back in the day about fixing games, and it's like, okay, now it's legal now. So it's all these little calls or non-calls. It's really it's starting to get really weird now. There's two things that happened with the Giants that I mentioned, one a few weeks ago, and one happened yesterday that was considered the worst call ever. The first one with the Giants and the Bills. I think that call where I think it was a roughing the passer with Okereke. Essentially, it was a love tap on Josh Allen. That's kind of what it looked like to me. It was nothing bad about it, but I thought it changed the entire game. Could you imagine if the records added one win and subtracted another win on the other side? How it would look, how the playoff picture might look right now? I mean, I didn't say the Giants going to get to the playoff, but I'm saying it's a different number now. You got somebody at 6 wins as opposed to at 4 or 5 wins. Now it's different, and it's like those calls make a difference. So yesterday, I missed that game. I was at a baby shower. I missed that game, but they had something called the worst call. So the worst call ever. What could that possibly? We've seen worst calls for years. What could this possibly be? I went back and saw the video today, and guess what? It was the worst call ever I've ever seen. It was a tackle by, I think, Alontae Taylor, the DB for the Saints. He tackled I think Belgium was trying to get out of bounds, and he tackled him. He hardly touched him. He didn't slam him. He didn't throw him to the ground. He got a flag for that. Everybody's in an uproar. It's like this is the kind of stuff that makes the whole officiating question a really relevant one, because that kind of stuff, it just can't happen. You can't do that kind of stuff. I mean, Bellinger wasn't like about 6'5". Alontae Taylor is not that. You know, he didn't toss him around. It was nothing to it. It was like, that's my team. I'm like, we benefited from that, I suppose. But that was bad. Have you guys seen that play? Did you see it?
I have not seen that one yet.
I watched the game, but I must have missed it somehow.
I invite you to check it out. It was ridiculous. But let's keep moving though. Any thoughts about the other question about the replacement for Staley? I had Ben Johnson and Dan Quinn out there, Kellen Moore in the poll question. Dan Quinn is winning right now, 34.8%. They want him as the next coach for the Chargers. I don't know how they just cut Kellen Moore out. He's been sitting there as an OC for a little bit now, and the
thing that's interesting about that is there must be either he didn't want the job or there's some lack of belief within the building, because he didn't even get the interim head coach job. That went to Giff Smith, which was their linebacker coach. He's their interim head coach.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, that's weird.
That's exactly my point. Is nobody does, and he got the interim head coach job, not Kellen Moore. So that is interesting to me. So I would say that Kellen Moore's probably not in on that option. I mean, if you can't secure the interim, which is literally handed to you, like they're just like, hey, we fired our guy, so I guess you're it.
Right. Good luck.
So yeah, so linebacker coach. Not to say that he's not deserving. I don't want to say anything like that. I have no idea. I don't know who this guy is. So if you're watching, you can at me about other stuff, but not about that.
I would never find their linebacker play, so I really don't know who that is for real. Because I wouldn't find their linebacker play for quite a while now on the Chargers. So yeah.
Like again, I have no idea who this guy is. Maybe he'll be awesome. I have no idea. Yeah. But it's interesting because we all thought that Kellen Moore would be the shoe-in for that in the event that Staley finally gets fired, and for him to not be
now with him,
Yeah, well, exactly. And for him to not be that guy was very interesting.
Very, very. In our poll, we got a Lions O-line OC Ben Johnson. He got the second most votes so far. So I don't know what's going to happen out there, but
which is kind of another thing. If they hire another OC to be your head coach and you're the OC on the team and you get passed over, do you also feel some kind of way? Like,
definitely.
Yeah. And then if you're Kellen Moore, you definitely don't stay, right? If they hire another OC to be the head coach and there's possible he's playing, like it's almost, he can't stay, right? I mean, that's.
I don't know why he wouldn't want to be the coach. So, are we for sure that he wants to be the coach? Do we know that? That's
why I said if you have a linebacker coach that's getting into that, either something is kind of weird in the building or he didn't want to be, right?
Right.
But I don't know. That's weird. But in that one's case, if you're an OC coming in, Kellen Moore is looking for a job, right? Because you're gonna want to call your plays because that's how you're getting that job, and you've made that Lions team extraordinarily dynamic on offense.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna be watching the Chargers because they always seem to do. They have so much talent that comes through there.
They do,
and then they do so much dumb stuff.
Yes,
I mean Staley. To be honest, Staley was in his previous work history. He was considered a defensive mind. That was his claim to fame. Now, when you said the Chargers defense, my question to you is yes or no. Did you see that? Did you see defense during his tenure there?
No, that was their problem.
They got Khalil Mack, and that was about all that you saw from a defensive standpoint. If you want to include, is Asante Samuel's son there? Or am I mixing him up with somebody else? That happens at old age sometime, Is he on the team? Samuel Jr.? Is he on the Chargers?
That I don't know offhand.
Okay.
Yeah,
that
he is.
If he is, that's the only other person that played defense on the whole team. So he's not a defensive mind. He's not that we can see. And they always end up hiring DCs as their head coach. I don't know why they keep going that route. Matter of fact, the last time they had a big interview before Steele, they interviewed like about 4 guys. One guy was from the Cardinals. I don't know if it was Wilkes or somebody else. No, it wasn't Wilkes. It was somebody else that was a DC. They interviewed like about 4 DCs the last time they had it. They keep on doing this. I'm like, this is not working. They get hired Staley, and now because it's not working again with Staley. Why do you keep doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so weird.
Please hire an OC. I'd love for them to try it.
Yeah, well, and that's what was so weird about them elevating a linebacker coach. You're just like, really? We're gonna go right back to
what wasn't working.
Yeah, I mean, elevating him to the DC and then having Kellen Moore as your head coach would have made way more sense to me than, hey, we're going to elevate this another defensive coach. Yeah, I don't know. It's just very odd. Very odd.
To say the least. Good morning, Feather Freebird in the house. Fly high, baby. Good morning. And guess what? One half of the Herb and Raj podcast.
Raj.
The other side, who's the better half? I don't play that game. Good morning, Raj.
Oh, it's Raj. I give it to him.
All right.
That's the
9
talent.
p.m. every Tuesday evening on your YouTube channels, Facebook and Twitter as well. The Herb and Raj podcast. Check them out. 9 p.m. EST every Tuesday. All right. So before we go into the power ranking, I want to admit something to everybody real quick. I followed the power rankings for a long time. I don't know how long it's been. It's been that many years. I don't know how long it's been. But I only followed it because I want to see if my team was in it. I didn't fully understand how the power rankings were done. So I do a little bit of research. I got something called victory value. I had no idea what that meant. I had to go look it up and find out strength of victory. I'm like, is this like college? They do strength of victory in the NFL. I didn't know that. Points score, points against, little things I didn't really. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out how certain teams jump into the power rankings because of one good win, and then they fall back out. I was trying to figure that thing out. I'm like, okay, maybe that's where the word power comes from. Okay, I got it. So with that being said, now my power rankings will be different from week to week because now I know it's not based on if you're the leader of the division.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that. It's not that. That's why the coach is not in my top 10 because it has nothing to do with that. I didn't know that all the time. So I'm just admitting my ignorance. I'm trying to learn from you guys, but I'm ready for the power rankings. We're going to do it right this week for the first time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the power rankings is essentially the eye test. It doesn't necessarily, like the record, it literally is what the NCAA does, right? Like it's your record, kind of, and then it's the eye test of how it is you're winning, which is why you have so much movement all the time because it's not based in reality at all.
It has to be because teams that have a lower record that are not conference leaders are above those that are. I'm like, how is that? Okay.
Yeah.
So
now that I feel less pressure though because I'm not determining a playoff spot. So I can just throw out whatever I want and the world's still going.
That's true.
So I'm good.
All right. Who's going first?
I'll go first.
Oh, okay.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. No, definitely.
No, go for it. Go for it.
I like to set the bar low so your guys can always improve on. That's why I go first. Get mine out the way. Sticking with San Fran at the top. Move Baltimore into number 2. Do have some comments on them after their game. But Baltimore 2, Philly at 3. Rogers, Miami Dolphins come in at 4 ahead of their big game against Dallas. Detroit at 5, KC at 6, Dallas at 7. Cleveland at 8. I still have no idea how, but they're still somehow in the mix. Yes. And then Cincinnati at 9. Another one of I don't know what's going on here. I don't know how this is working. Is the AFC just this? I don't know. And then I gave. This is why I was in your eye test one. I gave Buffalo the 10th spot, even though there's like a logjam of teams at 8 and 6. You look at their remaining schedule and the talent they have. They probably have as good a chance as anybody of making the playoffs. And Raj, turn off your headphones for a second.
Oh boy.
Still a great chance of winning the division, believe it or not, with the way it shakes out at the end. All right, Raj, you can listen again.
I feel like you can just read his wow comment a couple of different times.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna do mine next because I feel like the balance needs to be reshifted because if I let Bo go next, I think this wild might stay here on the screen. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to. I'm gonna try to go ahead and try to help the dynamic between the four of us. Keep the unity and the peace and the brotherhood. I'm gonna try to do that right now. All right. So number one, we got the 49ers. They're locked there, man. They're not moving right now. The Ravens are at 2. When they play each other, it may still stay the same. We'll see how it goes. But at number 3, I got the Dolphins at number 3. So Rod, go ahead, man. You are restored, brother. Be thou healed, my man. All right. I got the Eagles at 4, and that's I can't move them from Monday Night Football because they haven't been played yet, but I think they'll be in the area no matter what happens with the game tonight. I got the Cowboys at 5. They dipped a little bit. I don't want them in my rankings, but here we are. The Cowboys at 5. They're probably too high for them, but I don't know. But here we are. I got the Bills at 6. I thought the win was very, very strong. I'm really hoping, and Raj, I don't know what you guys do over there in Miami to get the good feelings going, but y'all need to beat the Cowboys next week. That would be really, really good. I think that would kind of make the playoff picture even a lot more interesting if that happens. Taking 2 losses straight would be good for the Cowboy fans. We need a dose of humility out there because their heads in the clouds right now. Got the Chiefs at 7.
And they haven't bought new jerseys for the 3rd time this year. They lose 2 in a row. All of a sudden, all these Dak jerseys are on fire.
Yeah.
Oh, they ain't got the Super Bowl hats out yet. I got the Lions at 8. I got the Browns at 9. They haven't really moved much even after the win. I think Flacco is kind of showing it's not really a fluke. So he's looking pretty good out there with what he's doing. Got the Bengals at 10. I'm gonna tell you right now, I think I saw all the games except I saw all the games since Joe Burrow was out. Jake Browning does more than enough. It's not fluky. He does more. I mean, he's not the JB you're thinking of, but he does more than enough to carry that team. It's really good. Jamar Chase being out is problematic. Hopefully he comes back really soon because they're going to need him out there as a different dynamic because they're going to key in on Higgins, I'm sure, and he have nobody to throw to, but he's doing really, really good, man. So shout out to the Bengals and Jake Browning, man. That's my 10, man. All right, Bo, are you going to be hurting our friend Raj, or are you going to be helping him? Just want to know in advance. So,
no, like he's actually gonna like mine. He's gonna like mine. And to answer Raj's question here, he's still just listed as questionable. He has an illness. There's no real information on what the illness is, so it's listed as questionable. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, that could just be some gamesmanship because then you have to try and prepare for multiple quarterbacks. Teams have been known to do that, but at the end of the day, he's still listed as questionable, similar to Geno. Geno is listed as questionable. He did the walkthrough on Thursday. He did practice on Thursday. But whether or not he's going to play, who knows? He's still on that injury report.
And who's the backup in Philly?
Mariota, isn't it?
Mariota. Yeah, Mariota. It could be the Mariota and Locke show. It could be another battle of the backups.
Oh, goody.
Yeah, right?
Monday Night Raw.
It was literally like half of this week was the battle of the backups. Like it was, it's amazing how many quarterbacks have gone down this year.
Yep.
And we still got some weeks to go. And I mean, based on the way some of these dudes have been getting hit, there may be more. So we will see. All right, here we go. So I still got Niners at 1. It's going to take some pretty amazing meltdown to move them from that spot. I still have the Ravens at 2. I have the Dolphins rolling into that 3rd spot. So there you go, Raj. Moving into 3. I got the Eagles at 4, Lions at 5, KC at 6. I have the Bills jumping in to that 7 spot, and mostly because their last 4 games, they went 3-1 and they're averaging 30 points a game. Yep. And the one loss that they had was in overtime. So it's not like it was an overtime loss to the Eagles. Right. So it's not like it was a bad loss, right?
And a very easily winnable game.
Very. Yeah. So, I mean, over their they're really starting to come on when it matters, right? Like they're getting hot down the stretch. The middle of the season, obviously they fell to the Broncos and they had a couple of bad losses in the middle there, but they definitely Oh man.
All right, Raj.
Anyway, oh man. I needed stronger coffee for that. But anyway, so that's how the Bills jump into that spot. I had them at 9 last week, so it's not like it was a huge jump, but they're definitely catching fire at the right time.
Oh, yeah.
Then I have the Cowboys at 8. I was going to have them at 7, but it's tough to put them ahead of the guy that just absolutely beat them up. So, the Bills definitely gave them all they could handle, and the Cowboys didn't have an answer. So they dropped to 8. I have the Browns at 9. They keep finding ways to win, and kudos to them. That defense is no joke. They have offensive weapons. They do just enough to get the job done, and somehow Flacco hasn't cost them big yet. But I throw that yet in there because it's Flacco, and he's 8,000 years old in football years. So,
that's how much rest he has. So you should be fine now.
What's that?
That's how much rest he has. He should be fine now.
Right.
1,000 years of rest.
And then coming in for the first time this season, I got the Rams jumping into that spot. Absolutely. That's another team that's scrappy, keep finding ways to win. They occupy that 7th seed in the playoffs now.
Yeah.
They, I mean, you can't hate on them. They're finding ways to beat on this team, or beat on teams around the league. So it's interesting to see them climb into that spot, especially with the lack of depth. So the fact that they've been able to stay healthy and use their guys in a way that is winning games in the league. So, surprisingly enough, the Rams get a poke their head into the top 10.
It's interesting you say that, though, because one of the sports sites I read this morning, when they do their overreactions from the weekend, actually had the Rams listed as like one of their more, is this one of the more dangerous, 7 seeds, blah, blah, blah.
The way they're playing, I think they are.
Yep. I think that Baltimore game kind of showed you how dangerous they can be too, for sure. So
absolutely.
I think that was one of their biggest things.
Yeah, Raj, Bulls intelligence is unmatched. Good job.
Not so Raj. The only reason why I didn't have Miami at 3 is because Philly beat them. So they did have a chance to go up, but I still had to kind of, I don't know, the whole Texas-Alabama thing has scarred me for life. So it's tough to be back. But that was
I still feel like I botched my power rankings because when I had some edits over here, and the edit that I had is not the one I gave y'all. But I think the Cowboys shouldn't have been at 5. Not when the Bills.
It seemed high. It seemed high. 5 seemed high for the Cowboys.
Yeah, that wasn't the intention. It's supposed to be the Lions at 5 and the Cowboys at 8, but it's screwed now. So all right, we'll try. I'll try again.
They're playing in a couple weeks, so that'll sort out, right?
Yeah, that's true. We'll get to see what that is. The worst part about that Cowboys game is it just fed into the fact that they can't play in December and January, right? Like they didn't get off the team bus. They did nothing well. Like they came out and got smacked.
That was brutal, man. All right,
it was.
It
was. You expected a reaction. Well, I guess we're not breaking it down, but just like the third quarter, you expected. All right, if we got some fight, here's some fight.
Yeah, exactly. Like you get punched in the mouth in the first half, and you're like, okay, here we go. Let's regroup. Let's go. Yep. And then, they just the sideline wasn't amped. There's a lot of guys sitting down. Like it was just kind of. They're like, we were scoreboard watching. We're in the playoffs anyway.
Right.
We can break it down, man. It don't matter what game we start with. I don't really care about that. But let me get through a good bit of them. But let's be real, man. This is the Cowboys. This has been the Cowboys. It don't even matter what personnel's out there. No, seriously. This is not NFC East hate. People think it's hate because that's all they can see. I'm a Giants fan talking about their team. It's not that. I was a football fan before when they had nicknames for their defense. I was a fan way back. I'm talking about Purple People Eaters and Orange Crush. I was a fan then of the NFL. So it's not about your team. It's not that. But the whole mystique about this team, it's been the same thing. I don't know how, at least since 96. At least. They've been doing this. They come out there and they're overly excited about doing something that's not that exciting. And when they lose to a good team, And we've seen that a couple of times this year. We even seen it with the Cardinals, which is not a great example, but it's still the same thing. Look at their body language. They act like the whole world's against them, and this is so unfair because we should be here. We should not be losing. I mean, they're kind of pompous. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like they're just so entitled they can't believe that they're losing or they're getting outmatched or somebody's adjusting to what they do. It's like, oh yeah, that's football, but it can't happen to us. Why not? You're a football team. It wasn't long ago. You guys were 1-16.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
So
it can happen to you. But they act like it can't happen. It should never happen to them. And they believe their own press all the time. Every year, the fans are on my Twitter page with this junk on Facebook as well. Talking about, oh man, this team is stacked, man. We're going to Super Bowl. You are? Before the season even starts? How do you know that?
And that's why they end up burning jerseys once or twice a year. Because they're like, we dropped 2 games. Burn the jerseys. I mean, to be fair, must be that oil money to be able to buy that many jerseys because them things ain't cheap. And if you're burning them every other week, like that's some crazy stuff. Plus, they're buying big screens all the time. Like every time you see someone smashing a TV, it's not any other fan. It's always a Cowboys jersey that's smashing a TV and losing their mind and then burning their jersey in the backyard. But somehow they're watching the game next week on a big screen and a jersey. So, I mean, at the end of the day, hey, kudos to having an awesome job.
It's ridiculous, man. They act like they just have done so much that they just deserve. It's that entitlement thing all over again. You don't deserve anything in this. You got to earn it. You know what I'm saying? So they appreciate what they're going to do.
Here's a crazy number for you. So they lost 31-10, right? Got beat up. They held Josh Allen to 85 yards.
Yep.
Passing. 85 yards.
Yeah, more than at the end of the game, though. Yeah,
that is their total passing yards is 85.
Yeah, he said he felt like the kid who was in on a group project and didn't do anything, but still got an A.
Yeah, because they had 266 rush yards.
Yeah,
like they brutalized that defensive line of the Cowboys. 85 yards. I mean that's really not showing up to the project. Like that is amazingly nothing.
Yeah, that third quarter drive when they started out, I think they only threw for like the last 1 or 2. They basically ran it all the way down. Yep. Then he did have a touchdown pass dropped by Cook, and they ended up kicking a field goal. But I believe every play right before the last 2 were all runs. So
I mean, they did let him throw for a touchdown, so they'd be like, "Oh, good job, buddy." You know, it's kind of like letting somebody sign or like throw in the last piece of the puzzle. Like they didn't help really. But they're like, you know what? You can put the one in the middle that closes it up. You know, good job. Yeah. Way to go, Like,
Cook did damage, but even his backup came in, and when Cook needed a breather, and he was running, I was like, y'all don't even care who's back there right now. So
no, they were killing him. But yeah, Cook had 179 yards.
Yeah,
that doesn't hit me the same way it hits everybody else. That doesn't bother me. That they it doesn't bother me because I mean. That's what we got a defense for. Somebody got to play good and be hot at some point in the game. So I mean, so what?
No, a dozen.
How it happened.
Oh yeah, I don't think he was saying it as a bad point. I think he was saying basically look, they basically ran it down your throats and you never reacted to it. There was a point where there was no other even like.
Yeah. No, I mean that's the thing. If you got something that's working, you roll with that until it doesn't.
Yeah. And
if it does the whole game, you're just like. Way to go, guys! Up top, all right.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I'm looking at this number here about the interception. I'm like, something's. Didn't Dak throw more than one interception? I feel like I saw more than one interception being thrown, but
penalties called it.
One.
No, he got away. He got away with one on a penalty. He's actually gotten out of a few of them this year based on penalties on the plays.
I'm talking about in this game. Wasn't it more than a few in this game that perhaps he got away with?
No, I think it was just one. I think it was just one that was called back. There were 1 or 2 that were dropped that could have been picks.
Okay. I saw like 3 or 4 things that happened. Like, oh, Dak is about to run it up. I wouldn't tell you about it on Monday. Like, oh, bro, his numbers going. His promises not being kept.
I know. He's actually going to have a decent year, and it's weird.
The Bills sacked him a few times, man. So they Their defense came to play, man. That was a big deal, man. That's old school football there. Defense and running backs, man. So what game kind of jumped out at you guys that you want to talk about, man? There's so much stuff that happened. We had Thursday night football with the Chargers and the Raiders. We know that game was the kiss of death for your boy Brandon Staley. And to this, I was shocked that he was included. I didn't even think about the GM, but he got bounced at the same time. So I think it's a good thing.
You had to.
That was a good idea, though. That was a good thing. They had the Vikings and the Bengals on Saturday. That was an interesting game. That really was. I mean, Mullins being in there, I don't know what to make out of that, except that it is what it is. I thought Dobbs would be kind of really helping, but he's kind of just holding clipboard at this point in time. Yeah. But Browning, man, he came inside there gunning, man. 29 for 42, 324 yards, almost 400 yards. Had 2 touchdowns, had 1 pick too, but he was throwing passes, man, to 12 different receivers. He was spreading the ball around, man. He looked really good, man.
What was crazy about that is all of their points came in the fourth quarter, right? They were getting beat up, and then they scored 21 points in the fourth.
That was the Vikings carryover from last week. They kind of brought all that funky mojo with them, and nobody could score until like the fourth quarter. The Vikings got some weird stuff going on, man. I don't know what they're doing.
They weren't wrong. They gave up a field goal in the first, and then nothing until the fourth, and then they're just like, you know what? 3 quarters was enough. We're tired.
Oh my goodness! Let me ask you guys about the Steelers and the Colts real quick, because it feels like the Steelers are going in the wrong direction. maybe that's just me.
Well, I mean, they're putting up the same points they have been all year.
Right.
Yeah, I know, but to drop third straight and fall in the last place is not a good thing. Week 16. Especially with the AFC North playing the way that they are. I mean, the Browns don't seem to be slowing down. And the Ravens, they just got it on lock. I don't think they're going to lose that top spot.
Yep.
It's like there's a lot going on out there. And the Bengals are not – the Bengals aren't really laying down either when they could have with Burrow being out. So this is not a good spot for you to be in. Do you think
Trubisky was going to be the guy? I mean, we all know he's not.
But, I mean, this is their life. I wasn't that high on Pickett either, to be honest with you. I didn't see what they saw. So that's just my personal opinion. I don't have nothing against them per se, but I mean, at this point, I think Mike Tomlin's run of 16 straight seasons at being at 500 could be in jeopardy soon. I want to ask you guys a question about this. How many bites of the apple do you think he should get as a head coach? I mean, he's been given a lot of leeway because he has winning records. I think that's probably the reason why. I can't think of another reason why he's been given too much time that other coaches have not been given. How many bites of the apple do you think he should have at this point in time, despite the string of winning seasons? Do you think you think it's time for a change there, or do you think he's earned the right to keep going at the pace that he's going? I have my own feelings about it, but I want to hear from you guys what you think about it.
Go ahead, Herb.
You talk about with Tomlin and the Steelers, yeah. So I like Tomlin, so it's hard for me to say, but I feel like they're keeping around because they never change coaches either. But the non-losing seasons thing, I mean, that's great. You win 3 games at the end of the year to get a game above 500. I feel like maybe not firing, but a mutually parting of the ways needs to happen. There needs to be some kind of new voice there. There needs to be some new blood. And it's just time. It's like you said, every other team, I know, Baltimore at the top, they're good, but they've had several injuries. The other 2 teams have lost their quarterback. And then you're still trotting out whatever you're trotting out every week. And it's just not.
To be fair, they lost their quarterback too, though.
Yeah, but I don't know if I was that big a believer in Pickett. It didn't seem to be working great when he was out there.
No.
And
it's exactly the same, actually.
Yeah. And then you have to have the worst backup in the division too. So it's just nothing's working. Think it's just time. And I love Tomlin, man. I think he's a great motivator, but maybe some of the in-game stuff is just not working, and I think it's just time to move on. So
Herb, what's going to happen there? Are you putting a newer, younger coach there, or older, more seasoned coach? Because I don't know the answer to that question.
I might go younger, just because.
Build its future.
Younger, maybe a little more offensive minded. I feel like the defense is going to kind of take care of itself, but something has to be generated on that side of the ball. And I don't know if some of the problems that they're having with some of the young receivers are Tomlin based or whatever, but I need somebody who's really, able to talk to them and kind of get with them, because every young receiver that comes through there seems to have a problem. First couple, I'm like, yeah, receivers are divas. I understand that. It's going to be tough, but at the end of the day, like, I need somebody who can relate to them a little bit or get the most out of it. I just don't feel like they are. They have talent at wide receiver. They actually have a lot of talent at wide receiver that comes through there. And all of them seem unhappy. So I don't know how you make everybody mad all at the same time.
Well, bro, I want to say too, man, this is something that you and I discussed a while back. This is from the Broncos and Lions game. I mean,
let me touch on that one, on the Tomlin thing.
Well, hurry up, man. We ain't got all day.
Well, I didn't know you were going to take all day on it. So
look, that's my fault. That was my fault. I took too long.
But no, here's why I actually don't think they end up moving on from him this year, right? Even if he does end up with a losing record. And it has nothing to do with that, and has more to do with there's like 9 coaches getting fired this year. So your ability to grab some of these coaches goes way down, right? Like, you may end up with the wrong guy because other guys already have jobs. Because when you look at it, Ron Rivera's getting fired.
Yeah.
Right? The writing's on the wall. Bill Belichick is known to be out, right? Brandon Staley's already gone. Josh McDaniels already gone. Dennis Allen could potentially be gone. You have Arthur Smith potentially gone. Todd Bowles could be gone. You got Tomlin. They've already fired part of his coaching staff, so who knows? You got Frank Reich already gone, and Eberflus is probably also gone, right? So you're looking at like 9 or 10 guys before him, right? And let's be honest, there's not 9 or 10 top-level coaches available this year, right? So you may keep him in there for one more year, knowing you're going to move on, because you don't want to just hastily grab somebody, because this is a organization that holds on to coaches for a long time, right? They haven't had a ton of them historically. So you don't want to just move into a guy that ultimately you're like, it wasn't the right fit. Now 2 or 3 years down the road, we got to switch it out again. Right. You probably hang on to a guy that is, in and around the playoffs all the time. See if he can do it next year. If he can't, then you're looking at coaches that are already in contracts, right? So now you're going to have some of the better options for next year's coaching availability, good OCs that are out there, stuff like that.
I'm missing something now. Because when Herb was talking, it looked like he was in agreement with what he was saying about getting a young coach in there.
I agree. I just don't think
who is that going to be from your list? None. So we're talking about somebody who's going to be probably an OC, a DC, something like that. So it's going to be somebody who's unproven, right? Yeah. Kind of like what Tomlin was, right? So you got to give him a shot.
I think what he's saying, like in a vacuum, if Pittsburgh was the only opening, then yes, they walk away from Tomlin and they have their pick of the litter. I think that's what he's saying. So he agrees with the reasoning, maybe not the timing. I think
that's 100% it. Yeah.
So also OC or DC out there right now, you don't like any of them to be.
I don't know that they land them, because there's so many openings and there's so many deficiencies with this team.
How about Ben Johnson? I named him earlier.
I know, but there's going to be better options, is what I'm saying. Yeah. They're not going to get the best of the guys available, because there's better options to go to. Because you can go to, with the amount of other teams that are available, a lot of those other teams have more weapons, they have more pieces. So are you going to go into a team that has 3 backups, or are you going to go to, take over and have Herbert? Or, so like it, or Fields, or, maybe you can mold him into what you want. That's what I'm saying. Is it's like there's so many other options this year because of the amount of coaches that are getting fired. Do I think he should be moved on from? Sure. Every coach eventually meets the end of their time. Mm-hmm. But in this scenario, they don't have the most appealing job of all the jobs. So you're not going to get the best guy, because the best guy is going to go to teams that already have pieces in place that they like.
Basically what he's saying is, if you're Pittsburgh, you don't want to fire him and then end up with your 5th choice as coach, is basically kind of what he's saying. Yeah. You either coach long enough to be a legend, or you stay on long enough to get fired. Like there's no middle ground for this. Yeah. Especially with Pittsburgh.
Well, and Belichick is the same way. Right? Absolute legend. 6 rings. Can't dispute any of it. Gone at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. No worries there. All right. So Broncos and Lions. I'm focusing on both for this part, but I want both of you guys to chime in because we were talking about Sean Payton and Russell Wilson and the relationship with them that we thought
it's fun to watch.
And then this weekend, and I didn't see this one either, so forgive me, but I don't know when it was, but I think they were down by 21. I think it was at this point in time before the field goal. Peyton screamed at Wilson at the side, went off on him. I don't know what he was even saying. I don't know if you guys heard anything, but
in fact, in the presser, he said, "What I say to my quarterback is none of your business."
Cool. But yeah. But anyways, I guess my question for you guys, the first question of two questions is: what about the Broncos? What about the Lions? One, should we be concerned about Wilson that these tensions are starting to rise up more and more between them? Because we see coaches get mad and talk to the quarterbacks. It doesn't always mean what we think it means, but this is this too much background on this topic that we've seen too many things where it's like Peyton just couldn't take. I mean, I never seen him blow up at Breeze as much. I could be wrong. I wasn't a Saints fan, but I watched games. They were always on the NFL on Fox. The Saints, especially down here, they always were on Fox. So I seen most of their games when Breeze was the quarterback of the Saints. Never seen Peyton yell at Breeze this much. And this is just one season that we in. So should we be concerned about this? Is this something that brewing here? Is a potential for maybe trying to get Wilson traded, even with that massive contract he got? What are we talking about here? What are you guys thinking based on what you saw so far and just the preponderance of evidence as far as the relationship goes between Peyton and Wilson? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's something's not quite right with the dynamic between the two of them. But they can't move on from him. He costs too much this next season, so he's their quarterback regardless. They can't eat that because they don't have anybody in house that is going to be able to fill the bill better than what he's doing. So, so he's their guy, whether he likes him or not. He's their guy at least for the next season. After that, there's some outs, so they could do something. But this next season, he's still their guy. But that being said, was talking with Coach Bono, who used to coach with Peyton, right? Mm-hmm. And in talking to him, he said Peyton is that guy to everyone. Like, he will yell at you. That's part of his dynamic. So, are we seeing it more now because there's a million more cameras? I think that's probably it. Because he said he got yelled at too. We literally had this conversation a week ago. So he said, but one of the best coaches in the game, right?
I didn't see Breeze get all his heat. Sorry.
Well, yeah, but
down here, I was forced to watch Saints game because I was so close to the area and do all that regional stuff. I never seen Breeze get lit up like this. I'm sorry. And NFL Fox, who had more cameras than NFL on Fox?
Well, I mean, the NFL today versus men. Yeah. There's a lot more cameras
lit up like this, and Breeze has some rough days.
No,
crazy.
But okay. I mean. The other thing that's interesting is some of it could be because of the speed that Wilson came in and ran the next play. And why I say that is one of those looked like they scored. And I think they were trying to take time to review it before throwing a challenge flag. And they ended up running a play. So that very well could have been part of that conversation. Like, what are you doing? Now, some of that has to be on Peyton because he gets to talk directly in the headset, right? So if the problem was that, he should have been like, do not run this play.
Yeah.
If you do, it's at the 1 second mark. Like, do not run this play. We're trying to see what it is. So that's the only thing I can see from there. People playing terrible.
Okay. Any thoughts on that one? You want to move on?
What's that?
About long question. I'm asking her. Does you have any thoughts?
No, I think, just one thing in the middle that you touched on. I think it's kind of like a forced marriage, and the fact that he can't move on from him probably is also very frustrating too as well. So I think that's going to lead to more, like, we're paying you a lot of money. I'm stuck with you. Like, I've got to have better play. And I feel like that's probably part of the frustration as well.
You got to find out what year it is when he's when they're able to start making some decisions what year it is that's coming up? Because I think that's when you're going to start seeing.
It's after this next season. After this next
24, so 25.
Yeah. This was the first year of his contract.
These
agents,
I'm just impressed by these agents. They I mean, ooh.
Well, yeah,
I'm thinking about bills. I'm thinking about $3,000 bills. $118,000 mortgages and whatnot. Just
yeah, no, they re-signed him.
Like, y'all so ungrateful.
Now they re-signed him before he ever took a snap for him, and last year was the last year of his contract that they took over from Seattle. So this was his first year in that 5-year, however much it was. So the first 2 years were he's there. So that's this year and next year. Next year.
Quick question. Are the Lions back, or do they have more to prove?
More to prove.
Oh yeah, no, they have more to prove.
Definitely more to prove. I think that Dallas game coming up, that's a huge one for him.
Are you guys hearing that?
What's that?
Oh, I don't know. It's
yeah.
It just made it hard to hear what you guys are saying.
Oh, I didn't
so
hear it.
I don't know if there's a mic issue or something.
I'm not hearing anything on this side. All right,
okay.
You guys, can we hear each other? We okay?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah. No, I think we both agree more to prove. I think they're going to win their division easily, but I still think sometimes they're figuring it out, and a lot of the better teams are still figuring it out. So,
I know Bone's going to have a point to make on this question because it's one of his favorite guys in the entire NFL. But I want to ask you guys about Baker Mayfield. Right now, to be fair, he's outplaying his 1-year deal. Despite how things are going, he's outplaying his 1-year deal. Do you guys bring him back, or do you let him test free agency and probably consider drafting a quarterback? What are you guys thinking about that? Without any bias to them.
I mean, he's playing exactly how you expect Baker to play. Like, he has moments where you're like, oh, there we go. That's a guy. And then he'll turn around in the next game and you're just like, there he is. So, I mean, it's not like I hate Baker. He just plays so inconsistently. It's his inconsistent play that makes me mad, because when he's on, that can be the guy, right? Like he could be a franchise quarterback if he plays like he does when he's on his game. But when he's off his game, he's so far off his game.
No, so, I agree. I think the way this, especially if they end up missing the playoffs, they probably maybe bring him back one more year, but still also draft a guy. And I think maybe they tried not to make the mistake as a couple other teams and throw their rookie in immediately. Like, I know it works out for CJ Stroud, but it's maybe not working out for everybody else. So I can see Baker.
A 1-year deal?
Say what?
You'll take one of those?
I mean, he'll probably test the market, but who else are you? Like, if you're another team, are you signing Baker for multiple years? If he goes to another team for multiple years, I think they're going to tell him he's a backup. So I just don't know a team that's want to sign him.
Probably like a 2-year deal is reasonable. And probably,
I think that'd be fine where he's at too. Then a 2-year deal is fine, especially if I'm drafting a quarterback.
Sure.
Knowing that in the middle of year 2, you might not have that job anymore. So
yeah, you structure it like you did Geno, right? Yeah. Where there's an out after every season. It was a 3-year deal, but there's outs after each season. So if at any point you have someone else come in, or you want to make a change, you can move on, or if he's still your best option, you can keep rolling. So I could see him getting a deal like that.
Yeah.
Not a top end deal that has a lot of outs, incentive laden type of contract. I could see that.
Okay. I want to just ask one question from you guys, just from your expertise. I really don't know the answer to this question. I'm just trying to figure some stuff out. I've been thinking about it since yesterday. Then after that, you guys can grab a game you want to roll on and whatever. And then we'll close the show out with our comments and stuff in the poll question. But it's not about the Giants and the Saint game per se. This is just a commentary on what I see with Derek Carr. I want to ask you guys how you view this. Because, I mean, as a longtime football watcher, what does it tell you when a quarterback thrives without his top weapons, but flounders when they are available? I'm wondering about that because this is what he may not be the only one, but he's the one that comes to mind for me right now. When he doesn't have Thomas and Olave, he seemed to play better and do better. when he has them, Michael Thomas, everybody's on the field, he seems to struggle and look like he doesn't know what he's doing. What do you guys, as longtime football watchers, attribute that to?
I think you're a little more relaxed when you're not forcing it to one person. I think that's basically what it ends up to be. Maybe it's like and some of these guys end up being friends, so I don't get it. But I think sometimes it's like trying to keep this one guy happy. So okay. I'm trying to force that to him. I'm looking more to him versus, all right, now I'm just kind of playing a little more relaxed. I'm scanning the whole field. I'm just whoever's open is open.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. Like, if they're not on the field, you don't have the pressure to force feed somebody. You kind of see that when Josh Allen has, Diggs is off the field or he's injured or whatever. All of a sudden, he hits 8 different targets, right? But if Diggs is there, he has that, I got to have the ball all the time, and he'll hit 4 targets and he'll be force feeding Diggs into, triple coverage because he wants the guy to not lose his mind on him. Yeah. And I'm picking on Diggs here because, it's the most recent, but that is a very common number one receiver kind of mentality is I want the ball, right? Like T.O. was a great example of that. Like he didn't care if anybody else touched the ball. He's like, I want the ball every down, right? Ocho was similar, right? So, I mean, it just kind of, it's sort of that mentality. But when those players end up off the field, then all of a sudden your quarterback is a lot more free to play and actually play smarter football.
Yep.
You guys hear what I hear when you respond with this? That doesn't sound great.
It's not great.
It seems like teams that are having quality wins and winning consistently spread the ball around. This is not hard math, right? This is good, right?
Sort of.
I ain't saying the number one guy can't have the most receptions, but I mean, it shouldn't be 90-10. It should be something more like maybe 60-40. Something.
So the problem with that and why teams don't do it is if you don't have that number one threat, it means you don't have that speed guy that can rip the top off. All of a sudden, the defense doesn't have to respect a deep field, a deep throw. So the defense gets to play different. They get to attack a lot more. They get to play some coverages where they get to come and run down to receivers, which is much easier to get picks and defend passes than when you're trying to trail going down the field. So it like on the surface, it sounds, oh, well, then why do you even have this number one? Then you could just have a more cohesive group and it'll be better.
I'm not saying that now.
No. But I mean, why you can't is because as soon as you don't have that deep threat, the defense gets to play much more aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Same thoughts, Herb?
No, it's a trade-off. You want to have that guy, but I mean, you do have to keep him happy. So it's an interesting trade-off. Like I look at Tyreek Hill, and that's a guy that they can go who seems to have a good attitude about other people getting the ball, but they sometimes don't spread it on as much. And then you look at an AJ Brown situation who seems to be upset every game. He doesn't have,
He's upset even when he gets the ball. Let's be honest.
Yeah, true. So it is a delicate balance as a quarterback, and wide receiver is one of those positions you rely so much on someone else that if that connection isn't there, you lose a guy. All of a sudden, he's hardly running routes or whatever, and it affects the whole offense. So you got to keep that guy happy.
There's one thing that I do like when it comes to DK. Is he? No. It's something I legitimately like with him as a number one. Is he doesn't care if Lockett or someone else gets the ball.
Right.
He's totally content with going downfield and blocking.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, one of my guys got it. Cool. Let me go hit somebody. So I love that out of a receiver.
Yeah, I like that too. That's what I understand. I respect what you guys said. I know you guys are right. You guys got experience in your eyes of seeing plenty. It just doesn't make much sense.
Oh no, you're right. You're right. It's not a good thing.
This game this week in my notes here, where the quarterback spread the ball out to 8 receivers and 12 receivers, and guess what happened? Guess which team won?
Yeah.
A lot of times, if you can spread the ball out,
the ones that did that, and it's like, why is that? Why it's an anomaly? The number one guy can still get his catches, his 6 for 60 and a touchdown, whatever it is, and everybody's gonna still. It's not hard to figure out.
Yeah.
Because when they're told, when they don't know where the ball's going to be going, they know it's going to the same guy all the time. And for example, if Jamar Chase doesn't come back for next week, I'm doing a thumbs up thing. This is a weird. I'm not even trying to do that.
What was that?
I'm just moving my hands.
Oh, boo!
This new feature.
Disappointed.
We'll come down for that one, huh? See, look, we're going to do it now. Hypocrisy. But if Jamar Chase doesn't come back, right? If he doesn't come back next week, whoever they're playing, everybody's keening on T. Higgins, and the whole world knows it. It's not going to be a secret. It's like, that's not what you want. You want to be a little bit element of mystery. You know what? I throw the ball consistently to other guys every game. It's going to happen again in this game too.
Yeah, it just has to do with the quality of the rest of the guys on your roster. Like if they can't create separation, especially once you have that top guy go down, right? If all of a sudden your number 2 is your number 1, you're getting different coverage on that guy, right? So all of a sudden he may not get the separation being the number 1 that he got as a number 2. Juju is a great example of that. When he was a number 2, dude looked like a stud, right? Like he put up crazy yards. It's awesome because everybody was, going after Brown, right? But soon as he became the number 1, he just isn't quite that, right? So he didn't get the same separation. Like there's nothing wrong with it, but it means you're not open.
Yeah.
So it just really depends on how your roster's put together, whether or not you can spread the ball out that much. And some of that is predicated on the fact that you have a guy that can rip the top off. If you don't, like I said before, the defense gets to play much more aggressive because they know you can't burn them.
Fair enough. What's you guys' game of the week? And we use that to be our closeout for today's show. So was there a game that you guys just really want to talk about that kind of just excited you?
I'll start with last night's the Baltimore and Jacks game. Just because as I'm watching that game, my thought about Baltimore as I'm watching is Baltimore is the team that's like they're in a car race and the team they're racing against goes 60, so they go 61. And then the other team goes 100, they go 101. And it's like, I know the final score ends up being 23-7, but it's almost like they were forced to pull away at the end. But in the middle of that game, Jacksonville was just, making stupid mistakes, playing. I didn't realize that Trevor Lawrence was a fumble machine until they popped up. And his fumble in the middle of that game that took points off the board, he didn't even get hit. He literally just dropped the ball.
Seen it, I didn't know that it was a thing,
I didn't either until the stats came up and he's like the most in the league during his time in there. It's crazy. Or the way they ended the first half. You get down to the 5-yard line with 11 seconds left, no timeouts. And instead of just jumping up and spiking it, you throw it out, which had zero chance of scoring and getting out of bounds. And then it's just Jacksonville made a lot of mistakes, but Baltimore never pulls away. It's like their games are always going to be exciting because they just don't pull away. Plus, they have Lamar Jackson who does ridiculous things back there. But
they play with their food.
Yes, they play with their food. Like I said, and it's just every single week I think, man, they could be up 20 and they're up 10. And that's what I feel about them every week. And that's what I felt watching that game last night, despite what the final score may say.
Yeah. I think there's a history. I mean, I saw a little bit. I didn't watch a whole lot of Clemson because I really didn't care. But Trevor Lawrence, there was a lot of fumbling on his back. He came into the league, the NFL draft, known to have one or two fatal flaws, and one of them was fumbling. So
well, it's crazy because it's not even forced stuff. It's just when you're running and the ball just falls out of your hands. That's an issue. Oh, to the other point, I think
interceptions as well too.
Yeah, I think they said last night that Baltimore has had the lead in every fourth quarter of every game they've played so far, and I want to say almost down to 2 minutes.
So they've had the lead for 90% of every game,
and still lost 3.
That's a nice luxury.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, but what you got, man?
His fumbling is something that is crazy to me. Like the one where he fumbled while he was running, that one I could almost understand because it looked like he was starting to change arms.
Yeah.
Right. So like you see running backs make that mistake where they'll start to switch to get it on the outside arm and they'll move at the same time. They'll kind of knock it out of their own hand. that second fumble where he's like going to the ground and was just like,
yeah.
What was that? Like that one had no business being a fumble. Like just bring it in, accept the fact you're going to the ground.
Yeah.
But the first one, like I can't hate on him too much. I've seen every position group make that fumble. But yeah, the second one was brutal. So for me, I guess we should talk about this Raiders-Chargers game a little bit because it was hilarious.
Muffley?
Yeah, because it was so funny. And why it was funny is because the Raiders got shut out by the Vikings in a 3-0 disaster of a game the week before. And then they turn around and hang 63 that probably could have been 80 because they had 63 at the beginning of the fourth quarter.
Is anybody else disappointed they didn't at least hit 70? Like that was what I took away from the game.
Yeah, I was hoping for it.
Good. Right? I wanted them to punch it in 2 more times, set that all-time record, especially off of setting the record for the lowest scoring game in like 30 years. Like
I think a Dolphins fan that we know good and well probably wouldn't be happy with that if that would have happened.
Yeah. Well, the last 2 scores were all defensive scores too, so they shut it down pretty early, actually.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, like they were actively trying not to be just blowing them out. Like they're like, you know what, we're up by 50. That's probably good.
You know what happened? Mercy for him? I don't believe that at all.
I'd have gone for 70. The coach would get fired anyway. He can't take it personally.
Right? I always look at it as, if you're either running up the score or getting the score run up on you, it's like, well, you know what? If you don't like it, stop it.
Yes.
Okay.
Because any of us.
You feel better now?
What's that?
Talk about the Raiders and the Chargers. You feel better now?
I mean, it was just a hilarious week.
Nuts, man. That game was horrible.
No, but it was a hilarious week-to-week game, right? They score nothing, look completely inept in every facet of the game, and then turn around and hang 63. You're just like, wow.
How do you go plus 60 in 2 weeks? I mean, plus 60.
What was the high point of that game, though? I think we can all agree what that was, right?
The group chat.
Knew that was the death knell for Staley. We knew that was going to be it. There was no way to survive this game.
Yeah, that was the exclamation point. It was like, bye. Like the highlight of the game.
On podcast about whether you can get fired. Like, we knew that was the end of it. It was over.
No, the highlight of that game was that's my sports bar, series location, and I went and checked out Legion Sports Bar, which is the one that Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman opened.
Did you meet him?
Yeah, I got to chat with Cam for a little while, so that was cool. They're on Twitter, right, or X or whatever. No. Oh, I didn't take any with Cam.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't fangirl or anything. We were just having a conversation. I didn't even take my phone over. I was just over there.
You're at his bar doing a show.
Yeah, no. I didn't know he was going to be there. I was just checking it out. I didn't do that location like I normally would, right? Like I wasn't doing the interview and everything like I normally do on a Thursday. I was just checking the location out, and then he just happened to be there. Okay. So, but it was cool. It was cool to chat with him for a little bit. So that was fun. But yeah, when I talked to him, I didn't take my phone over or anything like that.
Fair enough. All right, last question, because we're going to go ahead and jump out of here. Is there a game next week you guys are actually excited about? I don't know if it's me, but since week 14, it's been hard to find one game that was like, yeah, that's the game I want to watch. It's been kind of hard. It's been kind of 2 teams that are not great, beating up on each other. So it's kind of hard to find, the quote unquote game of the week. I'm surprised you guys didn't mention the Buffalo and the Cowboys, because that was definitely my entertainment for the weekend. That was the game of the week for me. Entertaining to say the least. I love every minute of it.
Mine's the game tonight. Eagles Seahawks is going to be a battle.
I didn't mention that because we already know that about you, man.
No, I mean it's just going to be a good game. Like
any game the Seahawks are in is your game of the week. We get it.
No, that is definitely not true.
Yes, it is, man.
This one definitely is interesting because this has huge playoff implications for both teams. Because if the Eagles win, they move it back into that conversation for the number 1 seed. Right. And this game really sets
that no matter what happens.
No. If they lose, they're basically 2 games behind the Niners. It's a wrap.
Right. But also the division lead too, though, right? They need that for that as well.
They need it for the division lead.
They need it for that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So they need it for the division lead. They also need it to stay in the conversation because at the end of the day, the Niners have the tiebreaker against them.
Yep.
So they can't lose, and they need the Niners to drop a game. Which, I mean, the Cards were giving them all they could handle for, quite a bit of that game yesterday. That being said, the Seahawks on the other end, they need this game to keep their playoff hopes alive. Right. So there's a lot on the line for both these teams coming into this game. So this is going to be, plus it's in Seattle. So there's some of that element that's going to help on the Seahawks side. There's no Slay, right? So that should help that Seattle offense. But, when you look at the Eagles, they are better on both the offensive and defensive lines, right? So this should be a battle to the end. So it should be a really good game overall. I look at it kind of like that Seahawks Cowboy game, right? Like it's probably going to be every bit of that style of game, which was exciting to watch. Whether the Hawks win or lose, that was a good game.
Yeah. For me, it's going to be the Dolphins and the Cowboys.
That'll be a good game.
This is going to be, that's my game of the week, I guess, for next week, only because without the game even being played yet, it's going to reveal something about both of these teams.
Yep.
At the end of the day, both teams are getting revealed. I don't know what we're going to see, but when the clock is 0-0-0, something will be revealed about both of these teams that we're going to know about going into potential playoffs and stuff. We're going to find out whether the Dolphins are legit when playing a team that has a high-powered offense and a quality defense, if they can hang with them, because in the AFC, they're going to probably have to face that, whether it be the Chiefs or whether it be the Bills. They got to face a team that's kind of a well-rounded, so to speak, if I can say that. With the Cowboys, when they play quality teams, sometimes they struggle. And it's like, this is going to be a big deal because now the defense is getting, and I don't know if Tyreek Hill's going to be back or not, but they're going to get worked as far as on the offensive side. The Cowboy defense is going to be working. They're going to have no time for no naps and no breathers and no Gatorade. They're going to have to work because two will be throwing the ball all over the field. It's going to happen. So we're going to see a lot about both of these teams. That's my highlight. I can't pick them right now. I'll wait until tomorrow to do the pick 'em, so I can't do it right now. I don't know where to go yet. I have no idea where to go yet. I know what I want to happen, but I don't know what's going to actually happen. But
if we're looking at next week, for me, it's going to be the Niners and the Ravens.
Ravens, yeah.
That's another Monday night game that's going to be
crazy. Yep.
Awesome.
I didn't even realize they played until I was just looking at the schedule just now. I was like, oh.
That's yours too?
I mean, mine's going to be Miami and Dallas for several reasons. The emotional.
Roger's gone by now, so I guess he's
the emotional interest in that game and being at the house and actually like being there to watch it all unfold. That'll definitely be a game. Like I said, I feel like Baltimore and San Francisco might be the more high end game, but like I agree with what you said about Dallas and Miami. Both these teams have a lot to figure out as far as competition. So.
Just because he would do it again, you might as well just click on his wow one more time.
You know what? I'm here for the people.
He definitely would.
He probably needed a couple more O's, like wow.
Wow. More W's, right? Wow.
Oh, if Miami wins that game, I promise you a nice jump in my power ratings for Christmas, the Christmas edition, just for you, Rob.
I mean, for me, it's like I gotta be real about it. If they win, which I hope they do, they're not moving from where they are right now. Where am I going to put them? I got them at 3. Where you going?
I'll do that for 1 week for Raj for Christmas if they win.
So they're gonna be at 3 if they win next week.
But if they lose, I'm dropping them out for the whole week.
Oh, they lose now. They go back down to 7. They're going back down to 7.
Yeah.
That's where you come on with one of the supersized cans of tuna and be like, this is not dolphin safe.
Definitely.
I ain't going to do that. I leave it to y'all, man. But great show, guys. Thank you again for the knowledge and the insight, man. It was awesome, man. And wherever you guys are listening to our show, thank you again for making They Call Me Mr. You a part of your morning, your day, and your week with your weekly mirror check before you change the world. You know where to find us. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and the Twitter. Don't forget your YouTube channels. Herb and Raj podcast every Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. EST and 8 p.m. CST. And Bo's on with us every Monday morning as well. And of course, he got Hawk Talk on Friday mornings, Wednesday wrap up on Wednesday mornings. The boy is working. You can find us on Tuesday night sometimes on Herb and Rogers show or on Inside the Pigskin as well. So we're all over the place. You can find us, especially on YouTube. But thanks for joining us. We out, y'all. Have a great day.